What's up, guys? Ninth Jim here. Today we're bringing in another competitive VGC 2020 Pokemon Sword and Shield video. Today we're going to be talking about Tyranitar and also Excadrill. They're very commonly played together, so I figured just put them both into the same video. I'm going to be going over how to play them by themselves on a team, and then also on a team dedicated to the Sand Rush, playing both of them. So it'll be a little bit longer of a video, and it'll be a 2-in-1 kind of video. So skip around. If you don't want to watch the Tyranitar part, just skip to the Excadrill part. I'm going to be doing it Tyranitar, then Excadrill, then playing them both together. That's going to be the structure of this video. So, yeah, we're going to go right into it here, talking about Tyranitar. So the main reason we're playing Tyranitar is for his ability Sandstream, being able to, when he switches in or starts off, you can, it starts off a Sandstorm, which is really good in the form of this Pokemon, because first off, Sand will buff its special defense 1.5 times, so it'll be a little bit more bulky. It'll also deal a little bit of damage in between turns to other Pokemon, so this is just overall a very good Pokemon. It also has a great move pool. Rock Dark is a pretty interesting typing. It's good for offensive and defensive properties here, and it's actually got insanely good stats here. We'll go ahead and talk about the stats. So 61 speed isn't insane, but it's fast enough where it'll outspeed all of the low speed Pokemon and mid speed Pokemon, so that's great. And it also has like really good bulk, actually. So 100 HP, 110 defense, and 100 special defense is like super good bulk. So it'll be able to live a lot of attacks, and like I said, its special defense gets then buffed with the Sand. But we're not really playing it as a bulky Pokemon. We're playing it more of an offensive Pokemon that can take a few hits. However, it does get access to weakness policy in a really well. So you can Dynamax it potentially, and then it'll like never die immediately, and weakness policy pops off and then makes this guy a beast when attacking. And then so like as far as being offensive, we have 134 attack stats. So that's like a really strong attack stat. So we're definitely going to be using that. He has a great move pool for it, and we'll go ahead and just jump into a couple of the builds here. That's Excadrill. So our first build here is weakness policy. Like we just said, especially if you Dynamax it, it gets huge HP, and then you can just fire off like really powerful Max Knuckles, Max Rocks. I forget what the rock attack is called. Max Rockfall, and then Max Darkness, and just fire off really powerful G-Max attacks, buffing and debuffing everything. And it's just very strong in general. It's also notable that after the Sandstream goes away, if you D-Max it later that game, like if you switch it out and then Dynamax it later, Rock Slide then can come in as the G-Max Rockfall. After Sand is gone, you can reset the Sand manually, so that's interesting as well. But yeah, weakness policy is crazy. This guy actually has really good bulk, so if you get hit with something super effective, you'll live a lot of the time. Pop your weakness policy and then go in with a really powerful attack, especially something like Rock Slide, being able to hit both targets and potentially flinching them, as well as Superpower, because Superpower isn't on every single Tyranitar. So when Superpower is on it, you can really destroy some threats, something like a Ferrothorn that already threatens this Pokemon. You can then come at it with a Superpower and just kill it or do huge damage to it. So that's a really interesting way of playing Tyranitar with the weakness policy. It's really good. With the weakness policy set here, we have max HP and max attack, going 252 into the HP, so that we can live as many attacks as we can. And then for the last 4 is going to be into the speed, just so we can speed tie opposing weakness policy builds with max HP and max attack. We also have Adamant Nature, so that we can do more damage, and then minus a stat that does not matter at all. So that's the first way of playing Tyranitar is that. You can also always just change your HP into your speed, even with weakness policy. That's a viable option, just being able to outspeed every like opposing ones. You see here, you go up to 113 speed, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad at all. And at 252, you could even make it a Jolly Nature, and then you're hitting 124, which is actually a decent speed stat. And that's going to be our next build here, is the speedy one. This is wrong. This is like that. So we're playing Scarf here. Choice Scarf. We took Protect off of this set and gave it Earthquake, so that because Choice Scarf, you're not going to want to use Protect. So we're using Superpower, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Crunch, just to do as much damage as possible. You can also Dynamax this Pokemon to get out of Choice Scarf, so that you don't have to use the same attack over and over, which is really good. Max investment into speed and attack. Like I said, Adamant can be Jolly either way. If you need to do more damage, throw on Adamant. If you need to outspeed opposing Pokemon here, you can go into Jolly. Like I said, 124 is actually a really decent speed stat, and then with Choice Scarf, you're going to gain 1.5 times speed, so you're going to go up to like 180 something. Very, very powerful, really fast, which is the big thing about this build here. Superpower, Earthquake, Rock Slide, Crunch are really powerful attacks, so Tyranitar can just be an insanely offensive threat. With the weakness policy, it can be much more offensive after it takes a hit, but since you're not going to go fast, with the weakness policy, you're probably going to want to go into max HP just so you can live as much as possible, and then go into Adamant. This is the way that I would be playing the weakness policy most likely. I like the extra HP, just makes for a more bulky Pokemon with a Sandstream already giving you a little bit better special defense bulk, and then being able to max Knuckle, and weakness policy making your guy an insanely offensive threat. So that's awesome. That's good ways to play Tyranitar. So now we'll talk about Excadrill for a moment. So this guy actually has a couple of good abilities. So Sand Rush is going to be our way of playing it with Tyranitar, and without Tyranitar, we're going to be playing Mold Breaker. So if you don't know what Mold Breaker does, it the opponent's abilities do not affect this guy during battle. So it gets through things like Rotom. It gets through things like essentially just Levitate is the big one. Also Disguise is another one. So this Pokemon can Iron Head, or you Dynamax it and then you Iron Max Steel Spike your way through any Mimikyu. You can then Max Quake your way through any Rotom. And this guy, being Mold Breaker, is a Rotom Slayer, which Rotom is usually a really good out to this Pokemon. So that's a really good way to play it by himself, is Mold Breaker. That way you can kill all of those threats. We'll look at his stats here. Speed 88 isn't inherently amazing. It's not bad. It'll outspeed a lot of things. So usually you're going to pair this with something. When it's not with Tyranitar, you're going to usually be pairing this with something like max Airstream users like Togekiss, Braviary. Or you can pair it with something with Tailwind like a Whimsicott, or any of the birds, Braviary, Corviknight, anything like that, to make its speed a little bit better, because as you can see here, its attack stat is amazing at 135. Being able to attack and hit really, really hard. And then we also have pretty decent bulk in the form of HP at 110. 60 defense and special defense is not very good. 60 defense is 65. Special defense, it's not very strong bulky wise. So we pair it with a couple of other things to implement that. First off, you can Dynamax it at any point. Give it max Steel Spike or max, not Rock Slide, max Quake. Being able to implement a more bulky Pokemon, raising your defense, raising your special defense, pairing it with something that can really take a lot of hits and be able to keep this guy alive. We also give it Focus Sash. Since it's not very bulky, we want to hit a couple of times, especially when you put it with the Tyranitar to make it double speed with Sand Rush. Then you're going to be able to attack a lot faster, so you'll be able to get a couple of attacks in. And then we also play with the Mold Breaker, we're also using Focus Sash just to be able to attack a couple of times, as it's really strong. With Focus Sash, we are using Iron Head, Rock Slide, High Horsepower, Protect. That way we can protect off so that our partner can do a lot of damage as well, or just do something. And when you protect and your partner Pokemon uses something like a Max Airstream or Max Knuckle, this Pokemon will still get the stat buffs. So that's really strong and really important. Iron Head is just good stab coverage for iron, killing fairies, and like I said, with Mold Breaker, you can Iron Head your way through Mimikyu like no problem. High Horsepower is the move of choice for Earth. Or for ground. We can also play something like Drill Run or Earthquake, but usually you want to use a single targeting attack so that you don't have to hurt your partner Pokemon at all. When you play something like a Togekiss, it could be good as Earthquake, but we like High Horsepower or Drill Run. High Horsepower has a higher base stat at 95. 95 accuracy is really good as well. And Drill Run is the same accuracy, 80 power, but it has a higher crit ratio. So this can be more powerful sometimes, but high horsepower is always more powerful as a bet option, like 95 power guaranteed, or 80 power potentially critting. So I'm using high horsepower currently. And then protect is obvious. We just have that on the focus sash build. And then we also have all of our stats into attack and speed, just being able to attack and hit hard and hit faster than most Pokemon. We also have Jolly as our nature, just so we can outspeed opposing Excadrills. I feel like most Excadrills are max speed and Jolly, so you can guaranteed outspeed all of the adamant ones, but you also have to speed tie the opposing Jolly ones, which is better than not being able to outspeed it at all. A lot of Excadrill mirrors are just high horsepower into it, knock it down to its focus sash, and then high horsepower into it and kill it. So when you speed tie, it's like kind of a coin flip to see whose Excadrill wins, and when it's Jolly, and when you're Jolly against an adamant, you always win that. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And also another little highlight here for Excadrill being played alone. I've seen some people playing it with Assault Vest, which I think is pretty interesting, and I believe that they don't have any investments into those, and they just invest into their defenses, which is pretty interesting. Maybe making like something like that, like just max bulk, and then probably like a careful nature, or plus defense minus special attack. Either way, playing it like that is probably how you want to play the Assault Vest. And potentially not going into one of these, like special defense going into HP, or HP going into attack. I don't really know the spreads for the Assault Vest build. I've only seen it in play. I haven't actually seen it being built, so I'm not sure how the Assault Vest variant is, but it's definitely worth trying out. You can tank a couple more hits, and it's actually really interesting. You play it with something that or you can Dynamax him and then make it even bulkier with high horsepower, or the Max Quake and the Max Steel Spike, and then making your partner Pokemon really strong as well. I see it played commonly with like a Curse Lax, being able to just shield your opponent out into an unwinnable predicament, and then you just, even if you're not attacking that hard, you just don't take damage, and that's like a really powerful way of playing this Pokemon as well, and I like that a lot. Anyway, talking about the Tyranitar Excadrill combo, this is most likely the way that I would play it, is weakness policy with this set, and then most likely instead of HP we'd go into speed, just so we can outspeed everything. And then Excadrill also playing this set with the Focus Sash, the Sand Rush, and then max attack, max speed, Jolly as well. Or actually, when it's Sand Rush, you don't need the Jolly, and you can just use Adamant. But in opposing Tyranitar Excadrills, when your opponent also has Sand Rush, then you'll run into a speed tie. You'll both be at 280 with the double, so you might want to play the Jolly depending on where we are in the format. A lot of people are cutting the Excadrill Tyranitar combo. They see it as not as powerful anymore. Everybody's playing a way around it, and everybody's playing Pokemon that can kind of just shield it out. Things like Corviknight, things like Gastrodon are really, really prevalent in the meta now. So keep that in mind when you try to use the Tyranitar Excadrill combo. It's a really, really powerful combo. However, a lot of people are playing outs to it and just not as afraid of it anymore, because it is a hyper aggro offensive way of playing in general. So just playing a hyper aggro deck, it's going to start to shield out from the meta, especially with things like the Curse Lax coming into the meta is scary. Corviknight, Gastrodon is one of the most played Pokemon right now, and it kind of walls this team out entirely. So you have to play ways around those, which is difficult, because Gastrodon is a difficult Pokemon to out, and so is Corviknight, honestly. And both of them have very opposite ways of outing. You need a grass Pokemon for Gastrodon, or a grass attack, something like Energy Ball on a Whimsicott, to be able to out, which Whimsicott is commonly played on teams with the Tyranitar Excadrill, so that's a good way of doing it. Also, Rotoms are pretty decent, like Rotom Mo is really a good way of doing that as well. I'll go ahead and pull up a couple of those. Rotom Heat is really good against the Corviknight. Other ways, that's really it for like the Gastrodon, is that and Whim, unfortunately. There are other things in the meta, but you'll have to like really dedicate a Pokemon to outing that, which is annoying. Rotom-Mow is really good against the mirror match when you're up against opposing Tyranitar Excadrill, so that's why I bring him up mostly for that, to fill out another spot. Whimsicott is also just good in general for speed control and powerful prankster attacks, like something like Fake Tears or Beat Up or Encore, stuff like that. So those Pokemon are really great on the team to out problems, as well as just being good on the team, which is something that you really want. You don't want Pokemon that are just good against certain Pokemon, because then they just might not bring them, and then you have a dead spot on your team. So that's pretty annoying. But yeah, overall, Tyranitar Excadrill is a really powerful combo. It's starting to fall off a little bit. Early in the meta, it was the most used Pokemon was Excadrill. Second was Tyranitar. Now that it's falling off a little bit, but it's still played a lot of all over the place. So you want to know how to beat it, and you want to know how to play against it, and you want to know how to play it if you want to try it. So all of these are really good. Also, Tyranitar and Excadrill can both be really good Pokemon on their own. Excadrill has played a lot with Excadrill has played a lot with Mold Breaker, with things like Togekiss or the Braviary, like I was saying, to implement speed control while also using this Pokemon as Focus Sash. Really strong, really hard-hitting Pokemon that can also Dynamax to buff everybody's defenses. It's a very versatile Pokemon in general, so that's awesome. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. Tyranitar Excadrill is really powerful. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and like and subscribe. Go down in the comments below and suggest any kind of Pokemon you want to see in the future. In future videos, I like doing the user submission or the viewer submissions. I've been doing them every time that somebody puts a comment down. Couldn't think of the words there, but yeah, if you like this kind of video, go ahead and do everything that I just said. I don't want to repeat myself so much. Thank you for watching.